Good afternoon. Good afternoon to our graduates, friends, and loved ones, and especially to those of you who have traveled far across land and sea to be with us here today. Welcome to the city of Chicago, the birthplace of the skyscraper. Welcome to our great university, which is its namesake, and welcome to the Booth School of Business. It is my honor to be invited to speak on this occasion when we celebrate the accomplishments of AXP 16 from Cyberport in Hong Kong, EXP 22, based in London's Woolgate Exchange, and XP 86, right here at the Gleacher Center, downtown. Our guests may not know that your class numbering system means that you are the 16th class to graduate from our program in Asia, the 22nd class to graduate from our program in Europe, and the 86th class to graduate from our program in Chicago. You are graduating from the University of Chicago, the very first school in all the world to create the Executive MBA program. It is here in Chicago where we opened our doors to executives in 1943. In XP number 1, there were 20 men and 3 women, all from the Chicagoland area. Today, we celebrate 208 graduates, representing 60 different countries of citizenship. Today is a great day. It's a great day for you, the graduates, and also for everyone who encouraged you, supported you, and helped you to make this day happen. Congratulations to the entire community. One more round of applause. Let's go. Those applause are for you. I know that you're all hoping, actually expecting, that I will say something interesting or even inspiring at this important stop on the journey that is your life. I certainly don't want to disappoint you, but all of these graduates were my students, so you know that I am not a motivational speaker. I am a teacher. I don't make a habit of addressing big crowds in fancy venues, and yet today I find myself here with all the majesty of Rockefeller Chapel in front of 1,000 people. So, for the next 12 minutes or so, all of you are my students, and that includes Dean Skinner. Welcome to my classroom. When teaching, I always stress the importance of beginnings and endings. Commencement is both. Today is both a beginning and an ending. It is the end of your formal studies for the Master of Business Education degree, and it is the beginning of your informal studies as each of you becomes your own professor for life. When you are working hard in your classes, you were focused on the conceptual knowledge provided by your professors. You were focused on the details of the required assignments. And you were focused on being a good student so that you could learn and perform well in your formal studies. But we professors, we were focused on another goal. We were preparing you to balance buildings on bird cages. Well, if you don't know what I mean by that, and I feel quite certain that you don't, well, let me tell you a story. In 1872, a 28-year-old apprentice draftsman named Daniel Burnham opened an architecture firm with his good friend, John Root. Burnham and Root would soon become one of the finest architectural firms in the city. Among the firm's best work is the Monadnock Building in Chicago's Loop. It's It's at the corner of Dearborn and Jackson. If you have time this weekend, or when you're touring Chicago, I hope that you'll see this building. There's a very good coffee shop there, a hat shop, and a great old shoe repair business. If you go to visit, pay particular attention to the walls. The walls are 6 feet thick, almost 2 meters at the base. They had to be that wide to support the weight of the building, which is 16 stories high. For thousands of years, buildings had to have thick walls because walls carried the weight of the entire structure. The higher the building, the thicker the walls. And this building represented an amazing architectural achievement. It was the tallest load-bearing building ever built, and it was the tallest office building in the world. John Root called this building his jumbo, but it was his last project because he died suddenly of pneumonia while it was under construction. The Monadnock building was a great achievement, but it also represented the limits of an age-old concept. It made sense that the walls had to be heavy and strong in order to hold the weight of the building, but with load-bearing walls, a building can only go so high. And as the ambitions of city planners and residents rose, so did the desires of architects and their clients to build even higher. But how could you build a really, really tall building without building really, really thick walls? Well, a man named William LeBaron Jenney came up with the answer. Jenney is widely recognized as the father of the American skyscraper. And according to Chicago lore, he had a breakthrough idea when he observed his wife placing a very heavy book on top of a tall metal bird cage. The cage not only supported the weight of the book, but Jenney could see that it could have easily supported a whole stack of books. A stack of books piled high and balancing on a bird cage. What an image. Jenney introduced the idea of a complete steel skeleton, and he built the first fully metal-framed skyscraper right here in Chicago in 1884, 9 miles from where you're sitting. And just as his wife used a birdcage to support the weight of a very heavy book, Jenney used metal columns and beams to support his building from the inside. With Jenney's new framework, limits on the height of buildings changed. Walls became more like hanging curtains made of glass, and columns within the buildings bore the structure of the weight across the foundation. Buildings began rising to impressive new heights, and together with the development of plumbing, electricity, elevators, and most importantly, the elevator braking system, it's true, the sky was literally the limit. If you go to the top of Willis Tower, that's the old Sears Tower, or any other famous skyscraper on a tour of Chicago, you will see much more than an extraordinary view. You will see the power of abandoning long-held assumptions. The assumptions that walls held up a building dominated for many years and limited architects' progress. Their load-bearing assumptions quite literally served as an upper bound to the height of the buildings they could design. Jenney's vision to use metal frame core construction was brilliant. It represented a completely new way of thinking about the source of strength, the strength of an inner framework. The story that I've just told you is instructive. It demonstrates the combined power of shedding a default assumption that was weighing people down with making a major conceptual shift that provided architects with the strength they needed to build higher. Although you did not study building construction at Booth, I'm quite certain, I hope that this is still something that you learned. I hope your vision has shifted in a way that enables you to rise above load-bearing assumptions, whatever form those may take. Executives come to Booth with lots of experience, but also with many assumptions about management, strategy, finance, and leadership. For example, you may have come here with an assumption that the economic world is a zero-sum game, or that some people can systematically beat the market without any inside information, or that debt is a cheaper form of finance because it is less risky, or that issuing equity is bad because it dilutes earnings. You may have even come here with the assumption that people are either natural-born leaders or not, as opposed to the view that leadership is a choice. The members of our faculty have worked hard to help you recognize assumptions, the assumptions that may limit the heights you could reach. And you have worked hard to shed those assumptions. It is not an easy task, because many of those assumptions have served you well in the past, and there is risk in abandoning them. Yet, the most important thing that you received from your education at Chicago is the willingness to question your load-bearing assumptions and to make a different choice when necessary. Now, there is a second thing that's important for you to notice about skyscrapers. In the classroom, we speak often about frameworks that allow us to think more complexly about business issues across industries, economies, and geographies. When I teach leadership, I emphasize building our own personal frameworks. When we create our own structures and reduce our reliance on externally provided ones, we increase our ability to handle ambiguity. Creating our own frameworks can help us to be wiser, younger. To learn more from our everyday experience, and what we learn can better inform our choices. Frameworks can help each of us to create a better future. Just like a skyscraper's strength comes from its core, the clarity, vision, and support for your own framework must come from your core. Your classroom now is the world outside these hallowed halls. There is no blueprint for your future. In architecture, structural integrity is established during the planning phase and built into the foundation. William LeBaron Jenney taught us to build up by building from within. Leaving here, you will need that same kind of structural integrity. Build from within. Build your frame with strong values. Build with unselfishness, with kindness, with curiosity. Build with open-mindedness to new ideas, with compassion, with a sense of fairness. Your own inner framework will determine how high you can go. Wherever your adventures take you, remember, there is always a way to do more, to do better, and reach for the sky. When in Hong Kong, look to the 108 floors of the International Commerce Center for inspiration. In London, to the 73 floors of the Shard. And right here in Chicago, near the 108 floors of the Willis Tower, you can always look to the windows in the sky and remember your Chicago Booth education. As you leave here today, I hope you will continue to rise above your load-bearing assumptions and keep building a strong inner framework to ensure the integrity of all that you do. It has been my great honor to be your teacher. Thank you.